Imagine a life where the things that cause the most damage are not strangers, not politicians, not the economy, but four quiet forces inside: the mouth, the mood, the money, and the mind. Not dramatic villains, just the way words come out, the way emotions are handled, the way money is used, and the way thoughts are believed. Most days, these four act in the background, almost invisible, yet they quietly decide whether life opens up or slowly closes in on itself. Long ago, there was a man born in a situation that looked like the opposite of freedom. No rights over his own body, no control over his schedule, no power over where he would sleep that night. The world called him a slave. Inside, something very different was happening. He began to notice that even when everything outside was controlled by others, there was one place no one could touch without permission: the inner field of thoughts, responses, and attitudes. The body could be ordered, the reaction could not. From that, a simple but radical idea appeared. Freedom is not only about where the feet can go. Freedom is about where attention is allowed to live. Today, chains are usually not made of metal. They are made of habits. Words fly out in anger and then echo for years in relationships. Moods are thrown around by traffic, notifications, comments, and delays. Money disappears into small treats and secret comforts and then returns as stress and debt. Thoughts become long loops of what if, and it's always like this until the mind itself feels unsafe. Sometimes it looks like life is attacking from all sides. Many times, it is these four forces working without any guidance. The old Stoic teachers saw something that modern culture often ignores. Power is not measured by how many people are controlled, but by how little the inner life is controlled by impulses. Real strength is quiet. It shows up in a person who can feel anger and still choose the right words, feel fear and still take a wise step, feel desire and still treat money with respect, feel worry and still direct the mind toward what needs to be done. Mouth, mood, money, and mind are not four separate projects. They are four sides of one inner structure. It can start with the mouth, because that is where the inner world first touches the outer. A sentence is short, but the consequences can be long. After an explosion, there is often that heavy moment inside. Why did that come out like that? The memory of the other person's face repeats. Alternate versions of the scene appear: a calmer answer, a slower tone, a different reaction. Deep down, there is already awareness that something better was possible. The problem was not lack of wisdom. It was lack of space between the feeling and the words. A small space is enough to change everything. Before answering in a heated moment, breathe once or twice. In that breath, three simple questions can quietly appear. Is this true? Is this necessary? Is this kind? They do not need long analysis. The body knows. If the words about to be said fail these tests, silence is often the wiser choice. This is not about swallowing emotions forever. It is about not letting the fastest part of the brain decide for the deepest part of the heart. Mouth mastery is not only about avoiding harm. It is also about releasing what heals and builds. A sincere compliment, even small, shifts a moment. Saying thank you with presence, not mechanically, shifts the energy of a room. Words of encouragement do more than support someone else. They train perception to look for what is working instead of always scanning for what is broken. Over time, a person who speaks this way becomes the one others look for when there is confusion. In places filled with shouting and sarcasm, a calm and precise voice is rare. Rare things are naturally respected. Then there is the mood, the inner weather system. Many live as if emotions are completely decided by what happens outside. A message is left on read, and suddenly the whole day turns cloudy. One piece of bad news, and everything feels dark. One small success, and everything feels bright for an hour, until the next setback arrives. It is like someone else is in charge of the buttons inside, changing from storm to sun without asking. The hidden belief is, emotions are the boss. There is no choice. But between what happens and what is felt, there is a tiny pause. In that pause, a story is created. Someone does not say hi back. One story says, they disrespect me. Another story says, they are distracted. The body responds differently to each story. Heart rate, breathing, muscle tension, all shift. The event is the same. The interpretation is different. Emotions follow interpretation. When this is seen, Mood stops being a mysterious force and starts to look more like a system that can be understood. Mood mastery does not mean forcing a smile or pretending everything is fine. It means treating emotions as information, not as commands. Anger says something feels unfair or crossed. It does not automatically mean attack. Fear says something feels uncertain. It does not automatically mean run. Sadness says something mattered and is gone. It does not automatically mean life is over. If each emotion is allowed to deliver its message without taking over the steering wheel, inner space grows. The feeling is, this is heavy, but it is not all of me. Money is the third pillar. Human beings often give money more power than it actually has. It becomes not just a tool, but a mirror for self-worth. When it is low, the story becomes, I am failing. When it is high, the story becomes, now I matter. Under those stories, spending choices are rarely clean. Money ends up being used to buy feelings, a sense of importance, a moment of escape, a brief illusion of belonging. Then, when the feeling fades, there is guilt and pressure attached to the purchase. A different approach sees money as neutral energy. It takes shape according to the intention behind it. Before buying something that is not essential, one question can bring clarity. What is really being bought here? Sometimes the honest answer is trying not to feel lonely right now, or trying to look successful, or trying to avoid boredom. Nothing evil about those feelings, but naming them breaks some of their power. Once they are named, it becomes possible to ask, is there another way to meet this need without creating new problems? There is also the side of giving. When money is used in ways that match deeper values, supporting health, learning, meaningful experiences, helping others, it tends to feel different in the body. There is less of that sticky aftertaste of regret. One simple practice is to track not only where money goes, but how it feels hours or days after spending. Over time, patterns become obvious. Certain types of purchases consistently feel empty afterward. Others consistently feel solid. That information is more valuable than any budget template. Then comes the mind, the command center. Thoughts are always moving. Some like quiet background music, others like alarms. Without awareness, thought feels like truth. A sentence appears inside. Nobody understands. This always happens. It is too late. And the whole system behaves as if that sentence is a fact written in stone. But a thought is not a law. It is more like a suggestion. It can be examined, questioned, replaced. One helpful picture is to see the mind as a house with a door and a guard. Right now, for many, the guard is sleeping. Any thought can come in and run around. Training begins when the guard wakes up a little, not to fight every thought, but to ask, who are you? The thought says, everything is ruined. The guard asks, what exactly is ruined? What is still here? What can still be done? In that questioning, the thought loses its absolute power. It might still pass through, but it no longer controls the whole atmosphere of the house. There is a difference between facts and stories. Fact, the project was delayed. Story, I am useless. Fact, the relationship ended. Story, no one will ever stay. Fact, the body feels tired today. Story, this is how it will always be. Facts need practical responses. Stories often need to be gently rewritten. When the mind learns to separate these two layers, stress reduces because reality stops being bigger than it actually is. Life is still challenging, but it is no longer filled with extra imagined disasters. The interesting part is how these four pillars start supporting each other once any one of them begins to shift. When the mouth is guided with more care, there is less relational drama, which calms the mood. A calmer mood leads to fewer emotional purchases, which improves the money situation. Less financial pressure means fewer panic thoughts, which makes mind training easier. A steadier mind makes it easier, in the next conflict, to pause before speaking. It becomes a loop that goes upward instead of downward. Even small changes count. Imagine a week with only one intentional pause before an angry reply. One moment where the mouth held back. That small act plants a new story. Impulse is not the only option here. That story adds strength the next time an emotion rises. Instead of immediately exploding, there might be a choice. Leave the room for a minute, drink water, breathe, write a line. That more stable mood reduces the need to reward the self later with unplanned spending. The money saved becomes a quiet proof that emotions can be felt without buying relief. Each small proof makes the next wise thought easier to believe. This path does not require becoming a perfect, emotionless figure. The ancient thinkers who wrote about these ideas had their own struggles, failures, and regrets. They did not live in a world of calm sunsets and perfect health. They faced disease, political chaos, loss, conflict. Their strength came not from avoiding pain, but from practicing a certain way of relating to it. They treated daily life as a training space, not a test they had to pass perfectly. A modern life can carry the same spirit. Each argument can become practice in speaking with less violence and more truth. Each wave of anxiety can become practice in breathing, questioning the story, choosing one helpful thought. Each salary, each bill, each temptation to spend can become practice in aligning money with values. Each negative spiral in the mind can become practice in being that awake guard at the door. At the end, the real choice is simple, though not easy. Either these four forces, mouth, mood, money, and mind, keep acting on their own, driven by old patterns and external triggers, or they gradually become more conscious, more guided, more aligned. The distance between those two possibilities is not crossed with one huge decision. It is crossed through many small acts of attention. If this message touches something, that feeling itself is important. It might be the part that is tired of being dragged by impulses and ready to live with more intention. Subscribing keeps these kinds of reflections close for the days when old habits try to pull everything back to automatic mode. Liking this video helps it find others who quietly feel out of control inside. Sharing it with someone clearly powerful but not yet in charge of their own inner world might give them language they did not have. And choosing one of these four areas, mouth, mood, money, or mind, as the main focus for the next month, and naming it in the comments, can be the first clear step. From this point on, life will not be perfect, but it will be practiced.